A shattering coffee mug is the visual shorthand for a workplace in crisis. It is loud, messy, and impossible to ignore. But the trauma that actually hollows out a modern office is a quiet, undetectable event. It leaves no debris and makes no sound. Aman arrived at his meeting with several pages of cross-reference data. He had spent his morning anticipating questions and tightening his logic, arriving with a high level of intellectual confidence. He finally spoke up to present a key insight. He got exactly 5 words in before a senior director cut him off. "We don't have time for this." Aman nodded, muted his microphone, and remained motionless for the rest of the call. To the other 8 people on the screen, the meeting simply became more efficient. The agenda stayed on track, hiding the fact that a significant professional injury had just occurred in broad daylight. The physical interruption lasted 2 seconds. But for Aman, those 2 seconds were about to expand, occupying every spare moment of his remaining workday. He is experiencing time dilation. Time dilation is a psychological state where an intense emotional shock causes a person to perceive a brief moment as a prolonged, recurring event. While the rest of the team moves to the next slide, we have to look at Aman's internal timeline. The objective reality of the meeting room has faded away. He is trapped in a frozen moment of cognitive overload, mentally reliving the dismissal while his coworkers discuss the quarterly budget. When the brain is suddenly shut down, it instinctively looks for a reason. It begins an internal scan, assuming the problem must lie within the quality of the work itself. Aman stares at his notes and wonders if his data was flawed, or if the idea he spent all morning on was actually worth sharing at all. This is a rumination loop. A rumination loop is a cognitive cycle where the brain repeatedly processes a memory of a social threat to try and solve an interaction that has already ended. The loop soon moves past the director's comment and starts factoring in the judgment of every peer who witnessed it. The brain weaponizes the silence of the other attendees, interpreting it as collective agreement that Aman was wasting their time. He begins to project his own insecurity onto them, imagining that his coworkers are relieved he was finally silenced. The initial verbal friction was minor, but the brain's internal processing has transformed a 5-word sentence into a widespread collapse of social safety. By mid-afternoon, the focus shifts again. Aman stops analyzing the idea and begins attacking his own performance, punishing himself for how he spoke, his tone, and his inability to stay clear-headed. This internal spiral is happening in an environment where no official rules were broken. No one shouted, and no HR violation occurred, leaving the damage entirely unlogged and unacknowledged. This graph illustrates the mechanical nature of a microtrigger. Unlike a sudden outburst that spikes and then clears, a microtrigger acts as a slow leak of mental bandwidth. It is a steady, continuous drain on a person's cognitive energy over the course of the day. Because the trigger was subtle and the victim remained compliant, they are forced to process this cumulative loss of mental bandwidth in total isolation. The true danger isn't the dismissive remark itself. It is the unmanaged decay of focus and confidence that follows when a person has to endure the aftermath alone. By the time Aman closes his laptop that evening, the 2-second event from the morning has reached its final conclusion. He is exhausted. The rumination loop has finally stopped, but only because he has reached a state of total behavioral withdrawal. Aman has moved past doubting his specific presentation. He is now questioning the fundamental value of his own voice within the organization. The final casualty of this process is the loss of a talented contributor. A prepared mind has decided that staying silent is the only way to stay safe. We usually think of triggers as things that cause a person to explode, but the most common workplace triggers do the opposite. They shrink you silently. When these moments are ignored, the result is a culture of disengagement, where the best ideas are never shared because the people holding them no longer feel they have the right to speak. To stop this shrinkage, individuals need a framework for cognitive resilience. Cognitive resilience is a set of skills used to intercept internal rumination loops, allowing a person to process social friction without losing their mental bandwidth. You can learn to build these mental barriers. Connect with InnerShield at support@innershieldhq.com to learn how to process and neutralize the subtle triggers of the modern workplace. Protecting your mental energy is a skill you can learn.
You do not have to let your voice be silenced in secret.